Hi, this is Luminous Star. Welcome to my channel. All of you who are current subscribers, mwah, mwah, give you 2 kisses today. Thank you, my stars, for motivating me to keep this channel, Luminous Star, active. All of you who are visiting Luminous Star for the first time, welcome to Luminous Star. And why don't you join the Star family by hitting that subscription button below. Today's video is about mindfulness as an effective tool to help overcome narcissistic abuse. Topics of discussion. Please mind the description box below for further details to today's video. Also, like and share this video. Topics of discussion. How effective is mindfulness when dealing with the aftermath of narcissistic abuse? Design your support base with you in mind. Mindfulness is not just about thought patterns. And of course, most of you who have been with me for quite some time, my stars, I'm going to be going over a few points, tools, and there will be critical questions. Please, again, mind that description box below. First point. Emotional stress is often a result of many factors. However, when one is dealing with the aftermath of narcissistic abuse, the process of searching for effective support can be very stressful. Next point. The unhealthy relationship with a narcissist can add on to the emotional stress one may experience, especially if one has either recently gone no contact or the relationship remains active. With memories of various tactics for source supply by the narcissist fresh in mind, one may perceive reaching out for support overwhelming. Just stress in general is probably going to be experienced. So the unhealthy relationship with the narcissist is definitely going to be a huge factor in your experiencing stress. Let's move forward. One way to incorporate mindfulness within your support base or daily life is to note when something happens, which may cause triggering. Triggers can occur as a result of sound, sight, smell, and touch that can bring back a memory of a traumatic event. So if you're triggered by something or someone, when you start to practice mindfulness, this will be a quick go-to, especially when the triggering comes on unexpectedly, which they usually do. Mindfulness is a quick go-to in order to self-regulate on the spot, in the moment, or in the heat of the moment. We can't change other people. And in life, yes, stuff happens. So if you're triggered by the narcissist or anyone else, practicing mindfulness can help you to self-regulate at that moment. See, it may sound like it wouldn't be effective. If you just try it, you may find it to be a game changer. So one way to incorporate mindfulness within your support base or your daily life is to note when something happens. Okay, so when that trigger starts, you can note it in your mind when it happened. Okay, and then you can start moving from there, which we'll get into that also further in the video. If you begin to practice mindfulness, then you can calm down or you can self-regulate in the moment. That way the narcissist is left starving. Let's move forward. Traumatic events can increase as one continues to engage in an unhealthy relationship with a narcissist and or cluster B personality due to his or her tactics to obtain source supply, fuel, and a strong sense of control. Pause. Most of us who have been in relationships with narcissists or cluster B personalities, we have come to know through trial and error that the narcissist does not know how to quit when it comes to trying to obtain source supply. They will stop at nothing. He or she seems to have that one-track mind. That is to obtain the source supply, no matter what, by any means necessary. So traumatic events can increase for as long as you are involved with a narcissist and a cluster B personality, because he or she, again, they don't seem to know how to quit when it comes to trying to obtain source supply. So with all of the shenanigans and all the tactics for source supply, all right, the narcissists, they don't know how to stop. So when a person is experiencing this, there's going to be traumatic events. So I would suggest never underestimating how far the narcissist and the cluster B personality will go for source supply. So this means, again, traumatic events can increase over some time. Don't be surprised if there's a lot of triggers that may be experienced. Panic attacks can also be experienced. Okay, so let's move on. All right, what I want to go over now is steps to practicing mindfulness. Making a note of when the event took place, right on cue, right in the heat of the moment. Because you may not have time to go somewhere and start writing in your journal. That's in the heat of the moment. Okay, the narcissist may come in and they may go in on you at that point. So making a mental note of when the event took place. Another step, note what actions were taken. Not necessarily what the narcissist did. What are you doing and what did you do? So make a mental note of that. Again, this is right in the middle of the chaos. This is when everything is happening. You don't have time to retreat and go somewhere and start journaling or calming yourself down. No, you have to try to self-regulate right then. So these are the steps right here that you can do right in that moment. The narcissist will not even know you're doing it. Next step, note what emotions were experienced. Okay, so what are the emotions that you were experiencing at the moment? Anger? That's probably going to be one of them right there. If the narcissist is going in on you with the insults, okay? Never being satisfied with anything, just nitpicking and so on and so forth. Note what you are feeling at that moment. You have to practice. Well, you don't have to, but this is something that I found to be very helpful. Go within yourself and become more mindful. See, that's what mindfulness is, becoming more attuned with yourself. What's going on with you? So note what emotions were experienced at the time. So don't try to pay too much attention to the narcissist. And yes, this is a challenge. I'm not going to even sugarcoat this. Right in the middle of everything, it is going to be challenging. It's going to be difficult to do certain things, but with some practice, you can become better at it. So note what you are feeling at the moment. Anger, like I said, is going to probably be one of them. You're probably going to be pissed off. Are you hurting? Okay. Do you feel sad? Do you feel disappointed? What's going on? Make a mental note of it. So later you can journal it, or later you can talk to somebody about it. Self-regulation and knowing what's going on with you. That's really what mindfulness is about. Any external things, okay, that's going on, we want to turn the dial down on that a little bit and turn the dial up on what's going on with us so we can self-regulate effectively. Last step, becoming more conscious of thoughts. Okay, so what are the thoughts going on in your head? Do you feel like cursing the narcissist out? I'm talking about right in the heat of the moment when everything seems to be chaotic. This is when mindfulness comes into play and can be very much the game changer. This will also help one to become responsive instead of reactionary, because the narcissist is waiting for you to explode and become reactionary. So instead of becoming reactionary, when you practice mindfulness, it will help you to become more responsive rather than reactionary. So becoming more conscious of your thoughts is one step. What are you thinking at the moment? I mean, again, if you're angry, you're probably thinking about defending yourself. That's natural. That's understandable. Because if the narcissist is going in on you, nitpicking and whatever else he or she may be doing to obtain source supply, and again, to get you to become reactionary, it's not going to be very easy for you to become conscious of your own thoughts. So becoming more conscious of your thoughts is very powerful. Again, it will not be easy, but with practice, it can be done. He or she may be saying something like, your outfit looks terrible, or your hair doesn't look good, or your perfume stinks, or whatever he or she may be saying in that moment to get you to be reactionary. Remember, when the cluster B personality and the narcissist is speaking, more than likely they are lying. Remember, he or she is being deceptive, or they're lying when they're talking. So while they are telling you that your hair doesn't look right, or your perfume stinks, or your outfit sucks, whatever, just say to yourself, they're lying. Their lips are moving. They're lying. So this is one way to practice mindfulness. And this is another way to make sure that you don't become reactionary. I'm not suggesting that you stand there or sit there and not say anything. But if that's what you choose to do, that is still okay. However, just make sure that if you are being silent, you are doing it from a place of power, not fear. In other words, you're not being quiet because you are afraid. Now, the circumstances it may be better for you to be quiet because this person may be prone to violence. So safety first, okay? I want to advocate that. Safety first. So, again, remember, practicing mindfulness can be a game changer. Just try it. How effective are mindfulness practices when triggered? Okay, so this is what we really want to know. How effective is this mindfulness stuff, right? Distraction tools during the onslaught of a trigger. Listen to your favorite music. Play with your pets. Go for a walk or a drive. Snap a rubber band on your wrist or squeeze a rubber ball. Breathe properly. Self-soothing techniques such as focusing on a pleasant picture on the wall or the color of the paint on the wall, right? Okay, recall a pleasant memory. Surely you have some pleasant memories from somewhere. So try to bring those up in the heat of the moment. Yes, it is challenging. However, more than likely you will find it to be a game changer. It's going to take a little practice to do this. Really taste your food instead of quickly gulping it down. Practice noticing how things feel against your skin, such as a comfortable blanket. Okay, so these are distraction tools during the onslaught of a trigger. Okay, so triggers usually happen unexpectedly. When the narcissist comes in, okay, if you live with him or her, if they're in the house, then you already know that they like to start arguments. This can be the onslaught of a trigger. So these are some of the things that you can do. Now I want to point out, go for a walk or a drive. If you can leave that area, leave. So if he or she comes into the room and you're there, if the presence of him or her is so overwhelming to you, leave. If you can leave, leave. Most narcissists and cluster B personality, they will not physically try to stop you from leaving. And I said most wouldn't. Not all. You do have a few that may, go ballistic and physically try to stop you from leaving the room. If you can leave the room, do that. I also want to point out, snap a rubber band on your wrist or squeeze a rubber ball. I have done both. And yes, it is very effective. Now, snapping a rubber band on my wrist is not one I usually do. I usually squeeze a rubber ball. That is usually very good with distracting a person when a trigger is happening, because what that does is it keeps you grounded. It keeps you in the moment without becoming overwhelmed by the events of the moment, if that makes sense. Because you can't change another person, such as the narcissist. You can't change him or her. You can't change their behavior. You can't make them do the right thing, so to speak. There are things you can do, such as distract yourself from what's going on in the environment. This is not to suggest that you are to take flight from the situation. What I'm talking about here is very powerful. You're not running away from the problem. You're actually resolving the issue. So when you have these distraction tools, this is a powerful way for you to resolve issues. not run away from them. Since you can't change the narcissist, since the environment tends to be very toxic, you may not be able to change that right away. The circumstances or whatever the situation may be right now may not permit that. However, what you can do is to have your distraction tools at the ready. So when the narcissist starts to do whatever they do to obtain source supply, then you are also ready to help yourself. This way, you're not putting him or her on the defense, and you are not being reactionary. Therefore, you're leaving him or her starving. Again, I want to remind you, when the narcissist and the cluster personalities' lips are moving, they're lying. So remind yourself of that. When they start going in on how rotten your hair looks, or how you didn't fix the meal correctly, or whatever, right? Remind yourself, oh, their lips are moving, they're lying. And more than likely, you'll feel a lot better. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, there's all types of emotions that are very unpleasant that we sometimes feel. For example, who wants to be yelled at? Who wants to be insulted? No one. It feels unpleasant. So certain emotions are going to come up. What the narcissist and the cluster personality likes to do is to brainwash someone into believing that just because they feel an emotion that is unpleasant, he or she is also unpleasant. Wrong answer. No one's emotions has anything to do with their identity. Remember that. So if you feel angry, you're not a bad person. The narcissist and the cluster personality, you better believe they want you to think that. Because as long as you think that, and as long as you feel that, they can feed off of your energy field. Emotions is energy in motion. We are all comprised of energy. I don't know what it is. Sometimes narcissists and cluster personality, they like to try to harm animals. Okay, this is very sadistic in my opinion. So if you have a pet that can help you to calm down, be very careful. Be very mindful, actually, when you have pets. Because the narcissist and the cluster personality, they don't stop with the certain tactics that we had just mentioned. They also like to find out what is near and dear to you so they can pervert it or they can harm it in order to get you to become reactionary. So when it comes to pets, try to keep your pet in a comfortable place, but a safe place. This is also why it is very important to get away from the narcissist and the cluster personality as soon as you can. When your money gets better or whatever, get out. The narcissist and the cluster personality, they will not stop at anything to obtain source supply. This means that he or she may harm something or someone that they know you find near and dear. So be very careful when it comes to the pets. Now, these distraction tools can be very helpful in the heat of the moment. Let's face it, we all have different types of situations. We all have different circumstances, and it may not be very easy just to physically get away from the narcissist and cluster personality. But what we can do again is to help ourselves in certain ways that will make sure that we're not reactionary and we're not putting anyone else on the defense. Practice safety first, though. I really want to reiterate that. Safety first. Make sure you are safe. Okay, let's move on. Unfortunately, due to possibly being groomed during childhood to behave codependently, one has become accustomed to placing the needs and desires of others before his or her own. It is not surprising that this will more than likely be the case while contemplating building a support base in order to begin a healing process. Thriving forward is not possible unless one becomes committed to designing and working his or her own support base. If one is not committed to his or her own healing, then no, more than likely he or she will not be able to successfully thrive forward. Not in their healing, not when it comes to thriving past an unhealthy relationship with a narcissist. There could be some difficulty there. So when a person becomes committed to his or her own healing, this is one of the best ways he or she can help themselves to thrive forward. People who have been groomed during childhood to put others before him or herself, it's not surprising that when they're contemplating their own healing, when they're contemplating building a support base, when they're contemplating thriving forward, they're going to tend to do the same. That means put other people before him or her, and they will leave themselves completely out of the equation. So how can you thrive forward and you have not even considered yourself? You have to consider yourself in order to be able to heal. It really doesn't matter where everybody else is. This is your life. This is your healing process that we're talking about here. So how does anyone else fit into that? No, it's more important to see how you fit into that. This is your life. Again, this is your healing process. But it's amazing how many of us who have been groomed to behave codependently, we do this even when it comes to contemplating our own healing. We place everybody before ourselves. So try to keep that in mind. I want to encourage everybody in this video today or tonight. All right, please contemplate where you are right now. How are you doing right now? What's going on with you? Let's move forward. The first step to building your support base is to draw up a blueprint. Steps in healing and thriving forward may seem overwhelming and out of order without a blueprint for your support base. Okay, let's move forward. Mindfulness is not just about what you think. It's about taking note of how you tend to think or what your thought patterns are. Self-regulatory processing is an aspect of mindfulness, which can help one to notice emotional regulation and thought patterns. Emotional regulation and thought patterns can be effectively managed by practicing mindfulness. Pause. So if you're practicing mindfulness, more than likely, you will also practice self-regulatory processing. I did a few videos about self-regulatory processing. The link to that video is in the references and resources. You'll find that in the description box below. So mindfulness is not just about what you think. It actually is about how you tend to think. What are your thought patterns? Because a lot of us are unconscious to that, believe it or not. A lot of us are. But when you incorporate that in your support base, more than likely it's going to be a game changer. And the narcissist will not be able to use your own thinking against you, because the narcissist usually does. The narcissist feeds off of the energy field of other people. Emotions is energy in motion. When we are feeling, we are also thinking. So our energy field comprises of all of that. This is also why the narcissist likes to goad people into an argument. This is also why he or she likes to get others to become reactionary. Because when the other person responds, the narcissist cannot tap into his or her energy field. They cannot feed from that. Narcissism and cluster B personality, they can only feed from those who are reactionary. Okay? So self-regulatory processing is a game changer. Self-regulatory processing is an aspect of mindfulness. And in other words, it's part of the mindfulness practice. So when a person starts to regulate his or herself, again, the narcissist is left starving. A person who self-regulates emotionally or otherwise is a person who is less likely to be reactionary. Therefore, he or she can be very successful in keeping the narcissist starving or having to go somewhere else for source supply. Let's move forward. Mindfulness is not a tool to fix you. It is a way to become more in tune with self instead of being distracted and overwhelmed by dysfunctional behaviors of others, such as narcissists, those with a predatory nature, and others of whom you cannot change. Pause. So mindfulness is not another way of saying there's something wrong with you, so you need to be fixed. Okay, that's not what that is. Mindfulness is a way to help you become more in tune with yourself. It's just another way of having a great relationship with yourself. Paying more attention to what's going on with you so you can be committed to your own healing and not so much the narcissist. You really can't help the narcissist. Who can? Okay, who can really help the narcissist or cluster personality? Those particular individuals tend to think that they don't need any help at all. So try not to waste your time and energy trying to figure him or her out, trying to figure out their motives for why and what they do. Become more committed to your own healing so you can continue to thrive forward. So practicing mindfulness is just a great tool to add to your support base. It's a way of helping you, again, to have a great relationship with yourself and to self-regulate. Let's move forward. Attending yoga classes and or meditating are what are generally thought of when mindfulness becomes the topic. Practicing mindfulness can be a constructive way to interrupt dysfunctional behavior patterns that causes one to remain stagnant in his or her life. So yoga classes and meditation. Yeah, this is usually what we think about when we're talking about mindfulness. But mindfulness is not just about that. As I stated in the previous slides, mindfulness is another way of you having a great relationship with yourself, being in tuned and paying more attention to yourself, what's really going on with you, so you can help yourself to continue to thrive forward, to be committed to your own healing. And mindfulness also can help a person to interrupt dysfunctional behavior patterns that usually keep a lot of us stagnant in life. Let's move forward. Critical questions. First question. Have you noticed your stuck points? If so, what are they? If not, why not? Okay, next critical question. What type of thoughts and feelings do you usually experience when the narcissist is around? Do you tend to judge yourself for being bad or good when you have these experiences? Pause. So do you judge yourself harshly when you experience certain emotions? When the narcissist is around and you have particular emotions, do you tend to judge yourself harshly? Do you tend to say to yourself that you're a good person or a bad person when you're having these experiences? When the narcissist is around, when the narcissist is around and they're saying certain things and they're doing certain things to trigger, what type of thoughts are going on about yourself? Do you tend to tell yourself you're a bad person? Do you tend to tell yourself you're a good person or whatever? The bottom line is this. I want to challenge you to zero in on what kind of thoughts you're having. What are the feelings that are going on when the narcissist is around? And try to get to a point. See, this is going to take practice. You get to the point where you realize that the narcissist really cannot control your thoughts or your emotions. So what type of thoughts and emotions you tend to have when he or she is around, especially when they're trying to goad you into an argument and when they're trying to get some supply out of you? What type of thoughts and feelings are you experiencing at that moment? Very important to note that, because this can help you to change certain things. The narcissist wants you to continue to be reactionary. So if he or she has you believing that they can control your thoughts and your emotions, then he or she will continue to obtain source supply. I want to remind you all, the narcissist cannot control your thoughts or your feelings. That's an illusion. Do you tend to judge yourself harshly? See, really, you're judging yourself. So where does the narcissist fit into that? If you're feeling sad, do you tell yourself you're a bad person? Even though the narcissist just has insulted you. So then you feel some kind of way about it. Then you tell yourself you're a bad person. So that tends to be the pattern. But a lot of us are very unconscious to it. And the narcissist is hoping that you continue to be unconscious to it. because he or she can continue to tap into your energy field as long as you are unconscious to your own emotional regulation. Last critical question. Are you feeling any responsibility or obligation to care for the narcissist instead of taking note of how you are doing daily? Pause. So are you tuned into the narcissist more so than you are tuned into yourself? How are you doing today? How do you cope every day? How do you deal with the narcissist every day? What's really going on with you? Is your health taking a hit? More than likely it is. These are the things that I would think are more important than supplying the narcissist, than complying with all these unrealistic expectations he or she more than likely has. So how are you feeling today? Or do you tend to feel more responsible for the narcissist? Do you tend to feel more obligation to him or her than yourself? This is a codependent type of thing. That is to place others before yourself, especially people who have a predatory nature, especially people who tend to not care for you or anyone for that matter. Yet this is the person you tend to place before yourself. I want to challenge you, especially my stars, to turn that around today. Let's move forward. First tool, draw up the blueprint for your support base. Second tool, draft out a distraction plan for a quick go-to should triggers occur. Next tool, keep a journal. Try not to judge yourself harshly due to what you think and feel. Next tool, take steps to change your daily routine in some way, shape, or form. Last tool, research mindfulness techniques. Pause. I want to go right to that second tool. Draft out a distraction plan for a quick go-to should triggers occur. In some of the previous slides, I had mentioned how right in the heat of the moment, you're not going to have time to sit there and write things out. I mean, some of you might go ahead and do that. Okay, just completely block out the narcissist. Okay, some of you may have done this already. Certain situations and certain circumstances will not always permit that. Sometimes the narcissist will be in your face. They may be insulting you. They may be whatever. The distraction plan is a quick go-to. That means right in the heat of the moment. You can go right to that plan mentally and you can start to help yourself. You can go to that quickly, right in the middle of the chaos. This is one way to self-regulate. You can put that right into practice. Self-regulatory processing and mindfulness kind of go hand in hand. So when things become a little heated again, you can start to do your distraction plan. Okay, you can start doing that. And the narcissist is not going to know what you're doing. Neither should they have to know what you're doing at that point. It's none of their business. This is about you helping yourself. This is about you and your thriving forward. This is about you and your being committed to your healing. So again, when things get a little heated, you can go ahead and leave. If that's a distraction that you can do. You can leave, or if you cannot for some reason leave at that point, focus on something that will help you to stay calm. Do something to come out of that comfort zone, especially during the winter time. It's a little rough, it's cold, people like to stay in and be comfortable, but if you live in a hostile environment, even in the wintertime, you're probably going to want some kind of peace. So challenge yourself. Get out of your comfort zone. Again, it could be small. Could start small. And of course, I want to point out researching mindfulness techniques. There's a lot of information out there about mindfulness. Again, a lot of us think about mindfulness is meditating and going to yoga classes, but it's more than that. All right, let's move forward. References and resources. There are a couple of links here. I mean, there's 4 altogether, but there's 2 of them which are videos that I did on self-regulatory processing and key components of self-regulatory processing. The references and resources you can find in the description box below. I want to thank everybody for joining me. I'm Luminousz Star. Stay tuned for more videos.